We talked a little bit about this, but I wanted to discuss it on my channel. We talked about it on Tuesday night's main event. And there's these things that are going on with Hasbro, okay? They're not in the best spot. Hasbro Toys just announced a layoff of 1,100 folks before Christmas. Comes 2 years after extending a deal with Disney's Breitbart's calling it Disney Grooming Syndicate to sell Star Wars, Marvel, and Indiana Jones. We know Hasbro, hell, with these Star Wars toys, they've been even remember they crowdfunded that, if I believe it was Hasbro, that Reva lightsaber or whatever it was, and they couldn't get it funded. Nonetheless, they've already laid off 800 staffers. That is going to be increasing. Hasbro CEO Chris Cox blamed this setback on headwinds and a slowdown in toy sales after the COVID. Oh, they still blame 3 years removed. They're still blaming COVID, guys. They're still blaming COVID. With the benefit of 2 years hindsight, this is pretty amusing. Listen to this. Hasbro Inc. today announced an extended relationship, and this was again 2 years with Lucasfilm. And we know these guys can't make money to save their lives with some of their films. We know Indiana Jones was just an absolute failure there. Now, look. I don't know how a toy company like Hasbro, with the brands it is that they have, can be moving in the wrong direction. I mean, we know why. We all know why. If overall toy sales are down, why are sales over at Mattel soaring? We talked a little bit about this with Drunk 3PO on Tuesday night's main event. Because of Barbie, they've actually seen an uptick. They are ahead of their original trajectory, if you will. And look, we know that this is just people aren't really interested in a lot of what's being produced right now. Yeah, there may be some cultural issues there with the youth. I get it. Dynamics changed a little bit with how a lot of the youth are consuming their like whatever it is that they are for entertainment. I understand that. But considering that all of what Hasbro has access to, G.I. Joe and Transformers, I believe, all that good stuff. The fact that there's any sort of issues is 100% laughable. But Hasbro is going in the wrong direction. 20% of the workforce they are getting rid of. I believe they're also shutting down their, if I'm not mistaken, I could be wrong on this, one of their branches out of Rhode Island. Which says a lot. They also recently entered into this long-term deal with McFarlane Toys, if I'm not mistaken, since it does seem that if one guy or company that knows this market and is catching doves like all the time, and that is, of course, going to be McFarlane and McFarlane Toys. So those guys know what it is they're doing. I don't know if you want to consider that a desperation, because yes, Hasbro is entering into a deal with them. Nonetheless, watching these brands, these American, these things that are part of American culture go in the direction it is that they're going is quite pathetic, quite sad, but a lot of it self-inflicted. I don't know if you guys remember, I talked about this when I would discuss like the Rippaverse and our aspirations and wanting to enter into the toy market, and me being humbled, trying to learn more about the reality of it all. And, you know, one thing that's an absolute trip is that Hasbro is for you guys that don't know, one of the companies it is, of all these toy companies, all the manufacturing for the most part is done in China. Hasbro is one of the ones that said they wanted to move away from that. They kind of committed to some sort of ethical stuff. They moved a lot of that, a lot of their factories over to, I believe, Mexico was what it was. Now, still not America. And that's a whole nother issue. I mean, if we want to really go down that rabbit hole of kind of regulation in America and like even something as simple as certain paints can't be used and produced on toys that are manufactured in this country. So, yeah. When you start to look at the cost, I know I'm on a bit of a tangent, but when you start to look at some of the costs, I believe a lot of it's a wash. This idea that, considering that China does so much of these different countries and they're like toys, to think that only has to do with cheap labor, I just think is nonsensical. There's a lot of self-inflicted wounds in the countries that are buying this product, but then when you really start to get in the nitty gritty of how much this stuff costs to get it boated over here, a lot of that stuff is an absolute wash. But maybe we save that for another video. The bottom line is this: Hasbro, like other American companies, are going in the wrong direction, and it is quite sad. I look at what they have control of, and I'm like, man, could you imagine like Rippaverse had control of freaking like Transformers and G.I. Joe? Man, we'd be printing money. What are you talking about? Alpha Core #1's pre-order is live. Written by the legendary Chuck Dixon and penciled by Joe Bennett. Visit Rippaverse.com to grab a copy and any of the merchandise items. Be sure to also check out the animated trailer for the campaign, which is the latest project from Rippaverse Studios. Y'all be easy.